Welcome to the High Rankings podcast, brought to you by Dispensary-Growth, the preeminent SEO agency for dispensaries. Each episode will dive into the world of search engine optimization for cannabis dispensaries. We'll discuss the latest strategies and tactics to help your dispensary rank higher on search engines and attract more patients and customers. So whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, join us as we explore how to maximize your online presence and stay ahead of the competition in the rapidly growing cannabis industry.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the High Rankings podcast. We are on episode 72. Oh, that feels like so many. 72. And we are actually going to do something a bit different with this episode. So this episode is going to be about how to do a step-by-step SEO campaign strategy, like from the very beginning all the way through. And because there's quite a lot of elements that are involved with scoping out a campaign, we're actually going to break it into two parts. So it will actually be two episodes, which we have not done before. So yeah, we thought, A, who wants to listen to us talk for that long? Whew. And B, it's going to be easier to digest it if it's in, slightly shorter episode. So that's what we're doing. But before we do all of that exciting stuff, we have to catch up and find out the exciting adventures of Charlie.
So much excitement. So what do we do?
I'm on the edge of my seat with anticipation. I can't.
Riveting. So
yeah.
I went to Winter Park. Well, I took my nephew to Winter Park. So my nephew is in high school. He plays varsity baseball, and he's a pretty athletic kid. Plays baseball, played soccer, does some scootering here and there, which is like a thing with the kids. And then he does motocross. So he has not like a little motocross bike, but not like a massive one. But he goes like 60, 70 miles an hour on these bikes, these motocross bikes, and just buzzes around, does like jumps and everything. So I was telling him about Trestle, the bike park I go to in Winter Park. Mm-hmm. And he asked to hop on my bike, but he's 6'3", and he's this gangly kid with like no body fat. So he hops on my bike. He's like, okay, yeah, this is kind of cool. I can get used to this. And he's just kind of messing around like my parents' front yard, just like in the street, whatever. This is like last week. I was like, yeah, if you want to go to Winter Park and like do what I do, like jumps and trails and all that stuff, just come up next week. So he texts me on, I think Friday afternoon. He's like, are you going to Trestle on Sunday? I said, yeah, you want to come with? He's like, yeah, okay, I want to come with. And in my head, I'm like, are you serious? Because I leave Sunday around 8:30, 8 a.m. Are you going to be awake? So we buzz up to Trestle, rent him a bike, a burly one too, like a burly bike. Get him some pads. He had a helmet and goggles and gloves from his motocross. So he's got a chest plate, some knee pads, some elbow pads. And we're going up the gondola. And I'm like, he's not too sure what to expect and everything. So I don't go too hard. Like, of course, we just take him on. And for context, again, he's 6'3". He's a gangly, gangly kid. And he just played varsity baseball on a really good baseball team. So he's athletic. So we're on the trail and everything. And I let him go ahead of me. Like we're on like not a beginner trail, like a lower intermediate trail. Mm-hmm. And he's in front of me. So nobody behind him will just come up. Not that anybody would, but come up and like, be like a prick. And it's to keep other people from trying to pass us on the trail or like being a prick or whatever, which wouldn't happen, but just in case. And like, all right, this he's going kind of quick. Like he knows what he's doing. And, there's a couple little jumps on there that he's doing. And he's like, all right, let's go faster. I'm like, I just settle down. All right, just calm yourself down. And we kind of work our way up. And then eventually, what were we on? I don't remember the trail, but I want to do that. I want to do what those guys are doing. And it's a Sunday, so there's Sunday traffic at the bike park. But yeah, we go down a black diamond. We wait for the traffic for everybody to kind of like thin out. So there's nobody behind us. So we're not blocking anybody. And he's hitting these jumps going, not full speed. He's going pretty fast. And he's clearing all these jumps behind, like what is going on right now? And I have the pictures too of like him in the air. Like he's doing this on his first time on a mountain bike, and he's clearing these jumps on a black diamond. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. So before that, he's like, yeah, like I'm clearing these jumps behind you. Like I was in front of him at this point. Yeah. To show him like what to do and everything, like what lines to take. And he's like, yeah, okay. Like I see you clearing the jumps and everything. He's yeah, I'm coming close to clearing them. In my head, I'm like, you're clearing them? He's like, yeah, I'm clearing them. And then he gets in front of me, and then he's clearing the jumps. I was like, you little knucklehead, or what? Are you serious? First time on a mountain bike, and he's clearing jumps on a Black Diamond Trail.
Dang,
So,
it's crazy.
so I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. And then I wanted to record it. So I have a video of him clearing and it took me like 4 or 5 months to do that. He's like, haha, I'm better than you when you started. And I was like, yeah, whatever, dude. And so that was fun. He did have one slip. He didn't crash. Actually, as he said, he almost ate poo-poo on a rock that sticks out of nowhere. You have to like jump over it a certain way. And I warned him. I was like, yo, dude, like there's a rock coming up. And I would always tell him like, it's going to go left. And then there's going to be a big rock at the bottom. So don't go over the rock. But there was a big rock that came out of nowhere and he almost flipped over the bars. And I was like right in front. I was like, oh shit. And I'd like jump off the bike and run over and grab him. We were on a wall ride and I could hear him. Keep in mind, he's 17. So we're on the trail and there's a giant wall ride, meaning there's like a vertical wall. And if you've never ridden that on a bike, it's the weirdest feeling. And I knew it was weird. So I was at the bottom where you can like stand there or you could just not ride it if you want. But he was going pretty quick and I could hear him. I was like waiting for him to come up. I was ahead of him by like 30 feet. And I jumped off my bike real quick to make sure he didn't fall. And I could hear him come up to the wall ride. And he goes, what the fuck, dude? Like, can't say that. And then he kind of like stopped and slid down and I caught him at the bottom. He's like, what is this thing? I was like, yeah, this is a wall ride. And he's like, all right, I want to hit it again next time. He's like, all right, just settle down. So we make our way down. And so he texted me, that was Sunday. He texted me Monday afternoon. He goes, dude, my hands are smoked. Like his fingers are so from hanging, because we rode for 5 hours. So he said, from basically hanging on as tight as you can for 5 straight hours. It's not a normal motion. He texted me, he's like, dude, my hands are smoked. And I kind of laughed. I was like, yeah, I'm kind of used to it. But yeah, that was pretty cool. And he's like, so this is what you do? Like you go over these jumps and you do these gaps and everything? I was like, yeah, this is kind of my thing. I like to buzz up here and do my thing on the bike and stay up here for a couple of days. So he wants to do it again. I couldn't believe that he was clearing those jumps on a Black Diamond. But expert trails, like...
Is he a Valentino Rossi fan?
What is that?
I mean, what is that?
What is that?
Who is that?
Yeah, who's a Valentino?
He's like probably one of the most famous like MotoGP riders probably in the world.
Oh, I've heard that name. He maybe? I'll have to text him.
I mean, I don't watch bike riding in any like situation. It's not my gig, but even I know who he is. Like he's that famous.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I'll text him. But yeah, he was into it. He liked it.
Valentino Rossi did a race with Lewis Hamilton. I think Lewis was driving an F1 car and Rossi was on his bike and they raced. Yeah.
How did it turn out?
Pretty sure Rossi won, if I remember. It was ages ago. But Rossi, his helmet is like fluorescent yellow. Well, he's always had like fluorescent yellow on his helmet. And Lando Norris has been a Rossi fan since he was teeny tiny. Actually, Lando thought he was going to end up riding bikes before he went into F1. And Lando has fluorescent like yellow on his helmets as like a tribute to Rossi because Rossi had on his helmet. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So he's like, he's banned for a hot minute.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll have to ask my nephew, but yeah, it was fun. It was cool. My dad asked, he's like, is Jake any good on a bike? I was like, yeah, he's like strangely good on a bike.
Better than you, apparently.
Yeah, that's what I told Jake. I was like, dude, those years of motocross definitely helped.
For sure.
So he's like, yeah. He goes, I love going like 67 miles an hour on my motocross bike. All right. That would do it.
That'd be a no for me.
Yeah. So that was cool. I still cannot believe he was doing those because it takes like, it's a certain like skill to be in the air that long and to clear those those are hot, like those lips, those takeoffs are like, some of them are 10 feet, like straight up, not straight up, but like, those jumps are pretty solid. So anyway, that was a lot of fun. So that was cool. That was Sunday. And oh my God, I was so gassed when I got out. I was so tired. I was falling asleep like 8:30, but I think I'm just getting old. So yeah, that was my highlight. What did you do?
I went boating.
Whatever.
It was hot. What else did I do?
Riveting, by the way.
I'm trying to think what else I did. I really didn't do too much because we've got a trip coming up in a couple of months. So like, I'm not trying to be out spending a ton of money and stuff because I, have a trip coming up. So yeah, I didn't really do an awful lot because like we went grocery shopping and stuff on Saturday, nothing exciting. But yeah, pretty much that was all. Went out on the boat, came home. That's about it. Well, a pretty quiet weekend, but I kind of like that. I'm very much a homebody. So yeah, that's basically all we did. It's not very exciting. Didn't even see dolphins this weekend. So 2. And that's about it. Nothing exceptional to report. I didn't go flying down a mountain or anything like that. So yeah, I'm literally just on countdown till my cruise now, which is like 2 months away. So yeah, less than 2 months away.
This might be one of the most boring summaries you've ever had in 72 episodes.
No, because I'm not going to lie and just make up some shit. Because like, I don't know. Like, I really haven't, I didn't do too, like, obviously did stuff around the house, but who wants to hear about that? Oh, well, like, no one gives two shits if I did laundry or vacuumed or whatever.
I stayed in and watched How I Met Your Mother.
I don't even think I watched any
That show was pretty good. No, I didn't.
And Formula One was on summer break. It's actually back this weekend, so I'm excited. It's the Dutch Grand Prix, so that's back this weekend. Obviously, the Olympics are over, so not watching the Olympics.
Yeah.
And kids are in school. I mean, honestly, it was some weekends are just quiet and you just don't do much, and that's perfectly fine because also that means I'm not around people. So, and that brings me to my next subject. What is vexing me? And I have so many things. I have things that I can't talk about on this podcast that I can tell you offline. What's vexing me today? I think, honestly, people that knock on my door, that I just don't want you knocking on my door, you know?
Like delivery drivers?
No, not delivery drivers, because they're bringing me things. That's fine. But like,
or just like trying to sell you things.
Like, I'm not trying to find Jesus or like your version of Jesus, whatever that may be, whether it's, you know, the local church lady or whether it be, what do they call them? Jehovah's Witnesses, or like, I'm not like, thank you, but no, thank you. Yeah. I do understand it is a part of like the religion is to, you know, I can't remember the word, proselytize. I don't know. I can't pronounce it. Also, I'm not trying to switch my cable company because I'm not, you know, I've got my pest control under control. So I don't need that. And also in this day and age, like if somebody needs something, pest control, new windows, changing cable companies, Jesus, you can find all of that for yourself online. You know, who's like, you know what? I really do need pest control. And thank gosh you're at my door offering it to me. And I'm just going to blindly take up your pest control offer without doing any research of my own, any price comparison, or any reviews online. Like, who does that? Nobody. So why are we doing this? You know? Because also what you've done is make my dogs lose their mind. They're all barky now. And you've shown up at my door.
You could put a sign up there that says no solicitors.
I bet people probably don't really pay attention to that, do they?
No. I mean, if I was trying to sell something, when I worked at where we worked at before, I was cold calling. Yeah. I mean, I'd just blast my way through secretary or through like a phone system or whatever. Yeah. I mean, I'd completely ignore it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So,
but yeah, I get it.
And I feel bad because these people, they work really long hours going door to door. Like I feel for them.
Yeah, I've done it. It's brutal.
They're making, right. It is brutal. And I can't imagine that they get any sales or very many sales. And it's a hard job. And I just think we just need to get rid of these jobs and then let that person find something else that doesn't take them out in the hot Florida sun, doesn't get them doors slammed in their face, people being rude or whatever it is. Not that I'm ever rude to them because I'm not, but like, I just, no, I'm not going to buy windows from Roger who shows up at my door unannounced on a Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah,
sorry, Roger.
Yeah, I get you.
It's not happening. Also, my dogs, you're upsetting them. So, that's what's vexing me this week.
Gotcha.
Not that anybody asked, but here we are. Okay, let's move on to part 1 of step-by-step dispensary SEO campaign strategy.
So what will we be covering in this first
episode? In this first episode, what we're going to talk about is literally like the foundation of what we're doing here. Let's understand what we're doing, what we're trying to achieve, who our target audience is. So we want to set our goals. We want to be able to measure our goals, and we want to know who we're trying to reach with what we're doing. Then we're going to talk about content audits, which we do have an in-depth episode on that. So you can go check that out. So it's not going to be like, we're not going to go in-depth into it, but we will talk about that. Also a technical audit, same thing. We have a podcast on that. So we'll go over that real quick. And then we'll end this particular episode talking about content calendars. And then next week, we'll go into other things like SEO optimization and strategies and how to monitor everything and report back on everything. So that will be next week. So that's what we're going to discuss today.
Got it. All right. I mean, might as well just jump in. When first starting out with a campaign, you got to set your foundation, right? Measurable goals. Where's the website currently? Where do you want to take it? How would you set up that foundation?
Well, the first thing that we need to figure out is, what do we want to achieve here, right? What are our goals for our client, if that's what we're doing here, or for us, if it's, an internal dispensary? Like, what do we want to achieve? And make sure that these goals that we are setting we got to set expectations, right? So we're not trying to rank on the first page of Google for dispensary near me next week, right? So we need to set expectations, make sure our goals are achievable within an adequate amount of time and a reasonable amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that these goals that we have go hand in hand with the overall business objectives of our dispensary. Make sure that everything's congruent that way. We also want to figure out who our audience is. What's our target audience? And find out within that realm, okay, what are they using our website for? What do we want them to use our website for? And if we have a website in place already, or if our client has a website in place already, we'll take a look at that website and get some kind of brief understanding of, is this a workable website? Do they want to completely redo the website? So it's literally, as we say, a foundation. It's like the base of where you start and then a roadmap of where you would like to be.
Got it. Okay. Well, okay, back up. Identifying your target is like KYC, right? Know your customer. Let's say you're in Michigan and you're doing both rec and medical.
Mm-hmm.
So you're trying to cast a wide net. That market there is popping, as we both know.
Mm-hmm.
How would you conduct a content audit to cater to your target audience while still casting a wide net? How would you make that attractive to get somebody onto the website and then shop?
Are you talking about as if the website already existed? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Yeah. So perhaps it's already up on the internet, but maybe you have to revamp some things. So that would be in the audit. Is okay, how do you identify pages that you have to revamp or some pages that can just be left as is?
So for that particular element, you would use Google Analytics and SEMrush to see what pages you have that are performing, what pages you have that are underperforming. Well, that's for that question. But also you want to use something like SEMrush, which we were literally just doing this morning with something else, to identify any gaps in your content or your keywords that you're missing, that your competition are taking advantage of, because that's an easy way, close that gap between you and your competition. Yeah, so Google Analytics, SEMrush, Search Console, those are probably the three main ones that I would use to figure out what my current content is doing in terms of performance.
Gotcha. And I would also say just hop on Google and see when you run that gap analysis, like we were doing this morning, before you hopped on here, is triple checking that it is in fact accurate. If somebody's ranking for let's say purple weed, and that has high volume, and that makes sense for you, I would triple check that is in fact what Google is reading, that your competitor a mile away is pulling for that keyword, and that's something that you want to rank for. And you can set up a content plan to rank for that. And then we were talking about this morning as well, with new content coming down the pike, you can leverage your quote old content and piggyback it by page linking. And that, as you said, can be done through Google Analytics and Search Console at the same time. And then we have you can get creative with pulling data in, and it's more advanced, but you can using one sheet to aggregate everything. It's kind of, as I use the word mayhem to first set it up, because it's just a complete dumpster fire at times, pulling data properly and aggregating it and getting it to read, spitting it out on the page properly. But once you do, you can read line by line a URL on technical actions and then the content actions that have to be done to that. And I think if you're an operator, owner operator, you probably want to, because it's your own website. But if you're an agency owner, that makes life so much easier.
Yeah, because you can't start, which we'll get to in a minute, you can't start working on a content calendar if you don't know what you've already got and what's behaving or how it's behaving. So,
right.
Yeah. Okay, so content. So after a content audit, what else do we do?
from the content out, which is going to take some time because you have to go through your blog pages, you have to go through your city pages. If you have state content on there, you have to go through that. You have to go through qualifying conditions, strains, if those are on there, FAQs, law pages, all of that. So once all that's flushed out, we'll probably go more in depth next episode on a content audit. But the technical audit, I think that's first thing first, because you have to make sure the foundation of the vehicle is, there's no loose nuts or bolts before you start building or changing anything, before you start changing like the upholstery, all of that, the dashboard. So the technical audit you can run with, we like Screaming Frog. You can run the technical audit with Screaming Frog. You can run it with SEMrush, Ahrefs, whatever it is, but we like Screaming Frog, and that goes URL, that goes page by page by page by page. Missing H1, duplicate H2s. The title tag is the same as the meta description. It pokes holes. It's an audit. It pokes holes in the website or these ranking opportunities or mistakes, and it spits it out onto a spreadsheet that is easily read. It's a manual process, but you can go page by page and fix it. So I think that's first thing first, the content audit, or pardon me, content audit, technical audit.
You would do a technical audit before you did a content audit.
I would, yes, because then you can transition into a content audit, because on a blog page that only had like one of the snags on Screaming Frog's audit is thin content.
Yeah.
You can then plug that into your content audit and say, okay, this blog post about indica versus sativa only has 100 words. We need to beef this up with at least 1,200 more words. The right keywords, of course.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can take it from there. So the technical audit, and that also gives you like if links are broken, any crawling issues, any index issues. This is site slow. Is it fast? Is it, how's the URL structure? Is that proper? Is there website security on there? But yes, Screaming Frog can tell you all of those.
So you would run the technical audit first and then fix whatever issues that audit brings up and then run your content audit.
Correct. I would leave the content issues off of the technical audit. I would still keep it, of course, but I would fix the content issues on the content audit.
Okay, so run your technical audit first, fix those outside of content, then do your content audit and fix whatever issues came up as a result of that and the technical audit.
Correct.
Well, that makes sense.
That's right, yeah.
And then lastly, for this particular episode, we would create a content calendar. Now, if you go to episode 57 of our podcast, which was a while ago, but it's there, we go really in depth in how to create a content calendar. Now, do you have to create a content calendar? No, you can do whatever you want. But if you try and run a successful SEO campaign without a content calendar, yeah, it ain't happening.
If you're setting up SEO, that means that you realize that your competitors are outranking you, and they're outranking you because they most likely have a content calendar and they most likely have their shit together. So you're playing catch up. You have to do on a content calendar, you have to like 5x your output to meet their 2 or 3x on what they're doing.
Yeah, because you're playing catch up.
Yeah.
So you can run an SEO campaign without one, but you can't run a successful SEO campaign.
Yeah, it won't be that good. In fact, maybe on the next episode, we can go more in depth on what a content calendar should include. And this really what it is, it is what it sounds like. It's on this month, on this day, we're going to put up let's just say a blog post about Northern Lights, about the strain. And then on the next day, we're going to talk about a blog about how to get the smell of weed out of your car. And then it just goes like day by day, or like whatever your cadence is. All of that is methodically put into a spreadsheet, a calendar, and you follow that day by day. And if it's done correctly, you keep your structure, you keep the technical integrity correct, page linking, make it fast, make it lean, no bullshit, no APIs on the back end. The site will rank. And that's because your content calendar is dialed in. You also have to look at your competitors, of course, but I think that comes through with your keyword research.
Yeah. In that episode 57, we talk about like what your cadence should be and why you need to have like pretty much a set schedule as far as that goes and why. Mm-hmm. We also talk about things like we're coming up to fall now. So you can work around any holidays. For example, we have obviously fall coming up. We have Labor Day coming up, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Black Friday, all of these things. So if you have a content calendar set up and you can schedule content that's specific to these kind of events or these dates. That's super helpful, because what you don't want to do is go, oh, it's Black Friday next week. Let me throw a piece of content. You're
Nope.
way too, you're way too late. That's not going to do you any favors. So yeah, we go really in depth about content calendars, why they're important, why having a set upload schedule is important. And we also, I think it was either last week or the week before, we talked about using something like Lucidchart to literally draw out a chart of all of your pages. And you can incorporate that into your content calendar also, so you can see what's coming up. So it's so important to have a content. Excuse me, that is my French bulldog. Smashing her face into the window. Yeah, a content calendar. Again, you can have an SEO campaign without a content calendar, but you cannot have a successful SEO campaign without a content calendar.
That is 100% right.
Yeah. And you can do that as simply as on an Excel spreadsheet. I know some people use Asana, whatever makes sense for you and your dispensary and your organization. But it's really important that you do have one and that you update it regularly.
Making sense of it, updating it, and like just progress in general, knowing like set responsibilities is like crucial. Absolutely crucial.
Yeah. And obviously from there, you can assign different things to different people. You know, if you have an artist working on artwork, you have a writer, you have someone who's researching your outlines. So it's probably one of the most vital parts of your SEO campaign. So that wraps up this episode for this week. Next week, we'll talk about on-page SEO optimization, off-page SEO strategies, monitoring and reporting. We'll probably do a quick recap of what we talked about in this episode. So yeah, I guess we will close for now, and we'll be back next week with part 2. And in the meantime, I hope your week's more eventful than my last week was.
Peace.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the High Rankings podcast, brought to you by Dispensary-Growth, the preeminent SEO agency for dispensaries. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you found value in the insight and the tips we shared. If you did, please hit that subscribe button. And if you're feeling super generous, we would love it if you left us a review. If there's a specific topic you'd like us to cover in a future episode, or if you have any questions, you can go ahead and find us on LinkedIn or YouTube. We'll see you next time.